Hey, we're live on a Wednesday
Welcome, everybody. Another week,
of
midweek,
SNL.
another week of SNL. Absolutely, Lane.
I'm Lane Stone.
I'm Scott Sackin, and we've got some stats and more stats for you today, beautifully presented. So get ready to get informed.
Well, I think with everything going on right now, it's really important to come with the stats. Like, what are things going on as far as forbearances? We're going to look at GDP. We're going to be looking at average price of homes. We're going to be looking at FICO scores. It's really important to recap how the month of October went for us. Are we progressing? Are we improving economically here? A lot of the stats from a real estate standpoint are going to be Orange County related, but from a national level, we're going to be talking about some of these bigger ticket items like GDP and forbearance.
Exactly. And as Lane is stating, there's so many stats that go into making the background that help create conditions in the real estate market itself. We know what's happening right now, all the way at the top level with record appreciation, record high demand, and very low supply. But let's today dig deeper into the fundamentals that are causing these market conditions right now. Right, Lane?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And I think what we should do is we should start with some of the slides that we're going to be pulling up for you here. And these are going to be stats more up on a national level. And then what we're going to finish up with, how real estate performed here in Orange County for single family detached homes. So let's throw up the first slide.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Okay, so the graph on the top here, comes from our friends at Keeping Current Matters, and they pulled some stats on what Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, and Morgan Stanley said the recovery was going to look like, after the first stay-at-home orders were put in place during COVID. So they said it was going to be more of like a V type recovery. You have like a Nike swoosh, you have a roller coaster, you have a V, you have a K type recovery. So a lot of the big players here did predict a V. Now the graph below for the actual GDP numbers is what exactly happened. So they were right on the money.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at these two things, I mean, they could not have been more accurate in their projections. And we know what's also interesting is that all three of those big players were very consistent in what their projections were, and of course, then reality bore that out.
Yeah, I've been reading that on an economic standpoint. We've recovered in 6 or 7 months, basically as quickly as it took 5 or 6 years during the last recession. So this is a big, I would say, what is this, V check mark?
Yeah,
that's big V recovery we have going on. So they're right on the money.
Excellent. So far, this is I think is so straightforward and so easy to digest. So this is just awesome. I can't wait to see what else we've got in play.
Let's put up the next one. Average U.S. FICO score. This came from the Wall Street Journal. So you can see in April, 706, plateauing in July and October, 706, 706, a little bit of bump in April and a bigger bump in July. So that tells me too that a lot of people, because when you get your FICO score, yes, you might have a little bit of credit and you're still making your monthly payments, but your FICO score also indicates basically what your average balance is compared to what your available balance is as well. So if you have a lot of your line already used, that's probably going to affect your score. So hopefully a lot of us nationally aren't taking on too much extra debt and we're actually improving our credit.
Absolutely. And if we take a deeper look at this, we can see this graph represents 5 quarters, basically a year and a quarter. But we see from April to July of 2019, things stayed fairly flat. So what I take from this is I look year over year, July 19 to July 20, we can see an actual increase of an average 5 points on people's credit scores. And that gave us plenty of time, as we know from the previous slide, to see that recovery get into place. This last stat is for midsummer. They don't have the next stat out just yet, but we can certainly see that will probably hold true or even being better. So this, again, is a good indicator of just how strong people's economic situation is, because their credit scores is based on their ability to maintain and pay on their current debts. And when people cannot pay on their current debts, then their FICO scores are going to go down. So I think this is a real important graph, Lane, don't you?
Yeah, I think so too. And I think what's nice and encouraging about this are Americans, when if some of these people were unfortunately furloughed or maybe laid off, they kind of hunkered down, hopefully, and maybe increased their savings and didn't necessarily worry about too much on overspending for frivolous items, and maybe paid down some debt and just kind of prepared themselves for the worst. And hopefully it's paying off, and their credit continues to improve, and our credit as Americans nationally continue to improve.
No, absolutely. I just think this graph is very encouraging. To your point, Lane, it just shows, I think, a level of responsibility among the American citizens as a whole.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one. Business applications in the United States. Now, this is way up, and I'd like to hear your opinion on it, Scott. But mine is, I think it goes back to maybe some folks that might have been furloughed or laid off, and they're sitting at home. Americans don't like to really necessarily, or most Americans don't like to twiddle their thumbs at home and do nothing. Maybe they're taking it on and saying, you know what, this is the time now where I can live out my dream. Maybe create a side hustle, create a new business, take out a business application, and just kind of, pursue their the American dream.
I think you're correct, Lane, and I know you spoke a little quickly there, so I'm going to reiterate one of the words you said, because when we were briefing before the show, we talked about that. And Lane said people creating a side hustle, and I think what that means is, how my take on that is, someone's got a dream of something that they'd like to do. They don't have the time to do it, didn't have the time to do it. Now they're furloughed, they're laid off, whatever. They're going ahead and saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and put my toe in the water, or jump in the deep end for that matter, and give this thing a go that I have a passion for.
Yeah. And I think it was one of my uncles that really told me about, like, if you're starting a new business and you're working full time, what tends to happen is that side hustle, that new business starts off really small, and you're working full time, and everything's, think of it like a big circle. And over time, hopefully that side hustle, that business, that circle continues to grow, while the one of the full-time employment continues to decrease, to where, your side hustle is basically your full-time employment, and you can get rid of it. And now all of a sudden you're pursuing with your dream and starting your business. Well,
I think you're right on that. And what we do know is, we hear this, we know it. I don't have the stats today, but we know small business is the backbone of the U.S. economy. Without a doubt, we know that is still the case today. And I'm going to share a real quick story. I'm going to digress. We're off script a bit, and not that we're on script, but this is exactly, my dad, may he rest in peace, was a deputy sheriff. He answered a burglary call at a machine shop and asked the guy what he did with his shavings. And he said, a guy comes by in a pickup truck and picks up these 2 barrels a couple times a month and gives me X amount of dollars. My dad did some research, got together with another deputy that had a pickup truck, and they ended up picking up that guy's scrap for a couple dollars more. They continued that side hustle, if you will, and within 5 years, they had both quit the sheriff's department, and they had their full service, thriving scrap metal business, and then end up to owning almost a city block in South El Monte, with a business with truck scales and outbuildings and so forth. So he lived that dream, and I'm so proud of him for that.
And that's a great story. And I'm proud of a lot of Americans that are willing to live out, or encouraged in pursuing those dreams as well. I think, the economy, it reflects off of consumer confidence as well, right? So I think that, it's showing and displaying a lot of confidence that people are willing to take that risk in starting a new business right now. And maybe because they are encouraged of where the economy can recover to, or where it's going, and how resilient we can be.
That's a great comment that you made, Lane, too, with regards to consumer confidence. There's one comment that we talk about all the time, and that is perception is reality. So the perception is now, even though there is record unemployment, there are people that are hurting and so forth. There's another large group of people that are just saying, we're going to make our dreams happen. And that is creating a new reality, which I think is fantastic.
All right, let's kick off the next slide. Okay, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS weekly unemployment filings. So obviously you can see it's maybe harder to see on the screen, but on the far left there, this is March. So it's obviously COVID, the 6.9, 6.6 over on the left. And at the far right here, it's October 31st, so end of October. That's a huge skateboard ramp. Right? So it's as far as unemployment, the filings are going way down and continue to go down.
They sure do. And I know I mentioned the record unemployment, on the previous slide. I don't have all those exact stats. We do know, we hear that in the media and so forth. We don't have the exact numbers, but we do know is from this graph that the weekly unemployment filings are significantly down.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we were at record unemployment pre-COVID. Right. And so obviously when a pandemic hits, it's not great for the economy. But I think because we were so strong before something like that hit, hopefully we come roaring back just as strong. So what goes up or what goes down fast must go back up quickly, and vice versa. So same thing, like if we got hit hard with unemployment filings because of COVID, hopefully after a certain amount of time, we can recover just as quickly.
Yes.
All right, move on to the next one. Percentage of overall forbearance is decreasing.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick moment, Lane, and just give a quick definition of exactly what forbearance is and what it means.
So there's multiple different ways on how you can put your home into forbearance depending on what the bank allows. But yes, you can either put a pause or set something up where you're paying a smaller payment to your mortgage company. Maybe they tack it on at the end. Maybe they do a lump sum. So if you do put your home in forbearance, each bank is probably going to have a little bit different of procedure. But for those that are having a little bit of a hard time making their mortgage payment, they can work out some sort of deal with their mortgage banks on being able to either furlough that payment down, pause it, tack it on at the end, and have different options of putting their homes in forbearance.
Absolutely. And understanding forbearance is a way that the banks work with you to postpone the inevitable debt obligation that you have. It is not a forgiveness of debt.
No, that's correct. And actually, when everything started to happen, because of COVID, 30%. That was the guess by a lot of economic experts of how many homes were going to be put into forbearance. The real number ended up being 10%. So now we're about half of what ended up happening, and a huge percentage of that 5.83% in October there, Scott, they're still making their timely payments. If they did, work something out with the bank to maybe make a decreased payment for temporary time being. So that number continues to go down and is really encouraging as well.
Absolutely. And again, we want to state so far what we're looking at are national numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. Move on to the next one. This should be the last one here. Everybody keeps asking too, and it's, if we had a crystal ball, I think we'd be living in beachfront mansions right now. We don't have a crystal ball. However, we can play off of what's historically of what's happened, what we're seeing, and what we could possibly project of what's to come. But yeah, we always ask, where do you think home prices are going to go for 2021? And that's a question that we get asked a lot. So here are some big companies with their predictions on price appreciation. At least the encouraging thing is we don't see anything in the red. We don't see anybody think home prices are going to depreciate in 2021.
And I'm gonna just state, because we've gotten kind of a pattern so far with the graphs that we've seen that have started on the left with the timeline moving to the right. I want to state this graph is a graph as of right now, and each bar just represents a different players, if you will, prediction on their projection on home price appreciation. So this is a snapshot of right now, and each of these bars represents a different person or company's opinion.
Yeah. So obviously, Zillow, Zelman, Freddie Mac, National Association of Realtors. You've got the Mortgage Bank Association, CoreLogic. These are some big time companies making some bold predictions, and a lot of them have, a couple of them that are a little bit more bullish, I would say. Right when COVID started happening, their predictions were negative. And so, yes, they're still a little bit more on the bullish. Bearish, I should say. They were on the bearish side, and they're still on the bearish side. It's encouraging to see now they do feel that 2021 is going to be good for home prices.
Right on, Lane. And again, my takeaway is this, something you mentioned at the very beginning. We're not seeing anything in the negative numbers. And if we even just take a quick look at this and even average among these 7 predictors here, we're looking somewhere right around 5% would be my guess, is if we kind of jumble these together and did an average. We haven't actually done that, but average of 5%. But again, nothing in the negative, and we've seen record appreciation over the last few years. So again, we know people are sitting on record amounts of equity as well. But this is just comforting to know. I think, again, we don't have the crystal ball, but just comforting for those folks that have said, "Gosh, do we think things are going to fall off a cliff, or what's going to happen?"
Yeah, especially for people that are looking at buying now, if they're taking advantage of the low interest rates. Nobody wants to lose money right away. Nobody wants to lose money at all. But at least it's comforting in knowing that, like you said, if we take all the predictions and it ends up being an average of 5%, assuming $1 million house, it's $50,000 in appreciation within the first year. And that's encouraging for new home buyers going into, not only are they trying to save money, maybe on a monthly payment because they're currently renting and they're taking advantage of low interest rates, but now they can build equity in their home right away.
Absolutely. And I would say even take that a step further and just say, even if we wanted to be ultra conservative, we can see, again, no one is in the negative territory here. So I think there's enough comfort for a lot of these home buyers, even if they just knew, gee, there's a very, very, very substantial chance my property is not going to be going down in value, in the near or the short-term future.
Yep. So we can take the graphs off now and just put our beautiful faces on there. And hot off the press, Scott, on my Sackin-Stone team notepad here, I did some research before we came onto the video, and I wanted to go over Orange County single-family detached stats. I wanted to go over new listings compared year over year, closed listings, days on market, month supply of inventory, and then the percentage of the original list price received. Okay,
Absolutely.
and I want to get your opinion on maybe what you're seeing out there based on some of these stats. Let's start off with new listings.
Yes.
So in Orange County, single family detached, we haven't really taken into consideration yet some of those attached townhomes or condos. Okay. But this is a good, I think, microcosm, if you will, of what we're seeing out there.
Absolutely.
New listings, 1,809 in October of 2020. October 2019 was 1,662. So we had an increase of almost 9%.
I think that's a very, very exciting number, Lane, because again, we've had record low inventories of homes since the stay-in orders have taken place. We've still sold a lot of homes because demands continue to rise. But I think that number is very encouraging, showing that the sellers are kind of getting off the dime and they're moving forward. The ones that have maybe been on hold are saying, you know what, we're moving on with life. And this is a good thing. And I would expect based on that number that we're going to see a continued increase throughout the next few months.
Well, especially in the middle of a pandemic, right? So when you're selling a house, a lot of times you have to provide showings and open your house open to others and strangers and people to come into your home. So you would think maybe, we did feel it maybe for the first couple of weeks when the stay-at-home orders were first in place in California here, we felt a little bit of a slowdown, but all of a sudden it just took off and there's more listings that have come to the market so far, at least in October of 2020 than in 2019.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled with that number. And I think that just is a very, very good precursor for the future. Well,
I think you'll be thrilled with this number. And we're going to talk about closed listings here. So the number of closed listings in October 2020 versus 2019. In 2020 of October, 1,943. October 2019, only 1,521. So there is an increase of closed listings of almost 28%.
That is amazing when you think 28%. And, I'd like your take on that, Lane. I think that has to do, it's twofold. It's, again, affordability is a combination of the price you pay and the interest rates. And I got to tell you, we keep hammering this home and hammering it home. The interest rates they're at record lows. They're the lowest they've been in my 33 years in the history, creating unprecedented affordability. And as we've stated before, most of our home buyers are millennials with dual incomes making, over $200,000 combined on average. And that's creating an affordability factor that's through the roof.
So those low interest rates are what's fueling the demand. And we have a really high increase of demand. And I think that's one of the reasons why, because we've had more new listings hit the market in October than we did the year prior, we've had even more closings. And that is a good indication. Maybe you can predict where inventory is going to be going when I get to that stat. But that's a good indication of, we have low inventory, but we have low inventory because the demand's so high. Like every time a home's coming into the market, it's flying off the shelf.
Yes.
Okay, so the next stat I have for you, I'll go inventory, because we just talked about it.
Yeah.
Month supply of inventory, October 2020, 2.5 month supply of inventory. Okay. October 2019, 3.2. Now, a good rule of thumb when you're looking at the month supply of inventory is if you're between 4 and 6, it's considered a neutral market. Anything below 4 favors a seller. It's considered a seller's market. So even October of 2019 being at 3.2, that was favoring a seller. So usually sellers were able to get close to their price, if not their price or more. Now with it being down pretty much 22% and being at 2.5 months supply of inventory is brutally low and definitely favoring the sellers right now.
No, absolutely. And again, when we talk about that seller's market with the low month supply of inventory, that simply means, as Lane said, getting your price, but it means you're going to have multiple offers. You're going to have and if your price is way too high, maybe not multiple offers, but you're going to have more than one person or one family that is very interested and wants your home. And we see that in almost every single case across the board. Minimum 5 folks that are interested in at least, if not making an offer, but very serious about a specific home. And we're talking even homes up into the $1 million+ range.
Absolutely, yeah. And if we're talking about getting your price, sellers getting their price, this next stat is perfect. It's the percentage of the original list price received. So what did you originally go to the market with, and what did you originally accept and close with? Okay. So October 2020, 100%. So sellers on average are getting exactly what they're asking for in October 2020. October 2019, 97.5%. Close, but not all the way to that 100. So that's an increase of 2.6%. And that's a great indication. That probably shows you, yes, maybe some are still getting a little bit lower than what they're asking for, but some are getting a lot higher than what they're asking for too. There's multiple offers. There's bidding wars. Things are going up. So it's awesome to see that 100% mark.
It absolutely is. And again, it just as Lane says, it's an average. We know some people are pricing low to get an immediate auction bidding war type thing going on to find where that high watermark is. And some people are still aspirational pricing. They're pricing a bit too high, and they're still having to come down after 2 weeks or 30 days on the market. But this 100% average is an exciting number that just, says we've got a lot of strength.
Yep. Okay. So we know new listings are up, closed listings are up. Month supply of inventory is down. The percentage of the original list price is up. Let's talk about days on market. So how quickly are homes selling right now in Orange County? These are single family detached homes in Orange County. October 2020, the median was 9 days. That's the lowest I've ever seen when I've been doing these stats. So that's an incredible amount. So that's barely a week on, excuse me, I shouldn't say average, median.
And let's go ahead and quickly just, again, I always get confused, average is aggregating everything and then dividing by the number of subjects that you have. And then your median is, I believe you have a midpoint, you have an equal number that are below that, an equal number that are above that. And they can be used for different analysis situations. I agree with you, Lane. I don't think I've ever seen that number under 2 digits. I don't think I've ever seen it under 2 digits.
We're single digit days on market from a median standpoint. October 2019, 28. So almost a month. So we've shortened it by 19 days, almost 3 weeks, down 67.7% for the average days on the market. So that's telling us that homes are selling for more, 2.6% increase percentage of original list price received, and they're selling in less time, on average 9 days.
Wow.
Yeah. But depending on who you line up with from a real estate standpoint and a sales standpoint, you could still potentially leave money on the table, right? Wouldn't you like to get 105% of the original list price received in maybe 5 days or 6 days as opposed to 9? So who you line up with, what you do from a marketing standpoint, it all matters. Yes, as a seller, it's a little bit easier right now, to get, but you still don't want to leave any money on the table, and you want to squeeze every dollar that you can out of your sale.
No. And in closing, Lane's right on with regards to that. Again, now more than ever, our field, the good people in our field, the real estate advisors, are playing a key role in helping clients navigate all of this to make sure, to Lane's point, that nothing is left on the table, because there's so much strategy involved, so much nuancing, so much timing involved. There's so many balls that all have to come together to create this top dollar pricing situation. In times like this, when it is easy to get a home sold, it can be sometimes thought of, well, gee, it doesn't matter who I hire. It's quite the actual reverse. It absolutely matters who you hire right now. You need that expertise, and you need that team or that person that's really got their pulse on the past, right now, and what the future holds.
Yep. But we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
So is there a stat that maybe you didn't hear from us that you wanted to learn a little bit more on? Is there something that you're hearing or that you're reading and maybe you want to make a comment on it and get our opinions? Please feel free to, comment, like the post, send us a direct message privately if you want to as well. We love hearing from you. We love the interaction. If something would resonate with one of your friends or family members, feel free to share it to them. And we'd love to have this video shared with anybody who could find value from it.
Absolutely. And a huge shout out to you, Lane, for your brain works so amazingly well with gathering these stats and disseminating them. So grateful for that. And hopefully our viewers out there, you like this more kind of stats driven show that we don't do very often, but it just packed with a lot of good numbers. And we want to give you the comfort moving forward that we've got the facts behind the numbers. Our sources are credible. And we were super excited to bring this type of show to you today.
Yeah. And I do want to, I don't want to sign off without saying, happy Veterans Day to everybody out there who has served, friends, family, clients, anybody. We love you. Thank you. We want to recognize you. We don't want it to go unnoticed without mentioning something about Veterans Day today.
Absolutely. We want to thank all of our clients and their parents, grandparents, anyone that has helped serve our country. We're so grateful for everything.
Yeah, thank you. Because what you guys have done is allowing us to do this today too. So we really appreciate that.
Without a doubt. Thanks so much for watching today, everyone.
All right. See you next week.